Yeah, is it rolling?
It's rolling.
It's already been rolling?
It's rolling.
Fucking, why do you do this to me? Oh my God. Okay. Welcome back for episode 3 of the True Potential podcast. I decided to give Dalton his three-peat that he never got.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. Deep.
Honestly, I'd rather have this three-peat. Another conversation with you. What a great day. I'm excited. Most podcasts don't make it past episode 5, by the way. So
okay.
You're getting close.
Shoot. Okay.
This is 3. I've been lucky enough to be on the first 3, which is fun.
Man, I think I'd just be scared to have anybody else on it at this point. Like,
that'd be a big seat to fill for that person.
It's uncharted territory.
Like,
I don't know if I want to go.
Seat.
I might just have to tell them that's going to be just between them and I and bring you.
Yeah.
He came. He just showed up. I don't know. I didn't ask him. He just came.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, we're rocking D Wade jerseys today because it's the 3rd episode of the podcast, and he's my favorite player of all time.
This is not my jersey. Connor has a lot of Dwayne Wade jerseys.
I think I have 5.
He lent it to me.
Yes, sir.
This is the best one, though. The Miami Vice.
Oh, that's the Floridians, actually.
See, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
It's retro as hell, man. That shit is one of their best ones.
Why D Wade? Why is he your boy?
So his March Madness performance for Marquette, which is why I have a Marquette jersey on. Amazing. I actually just loved the Heat when I was a kid. So I used to play NBA Live, and I would always pick the Heat because I love their logo, like the flaming basketball. And so I just remember creating a player, putting him on the Heat all the time, and then I just South Beach, the idea of Miami. And then he came to the team after that performance in 2003. I was like, this is my guy. He's just nasty. High flyer, handles, right? That fadeaway jump shot. This guy is just the silkiest, smoothest player, and then he can also just get absolutely raw and cram on somebody, right? You've seen the dunks. Anderson Varejao, shout out. D-Wade is amazing. And then off the court, and that's why I have his book here too, off the court, he's just, he's an exceptional human that also had moments of error and moments of, not handling situations the best, and those have been publicized, but he's, admitted those things, worked through those things, tried to be better. I really admire him as a human. That is an imperfect human, right? So yeah, man, he's dope. He's dope.
That's cool. I've always liked D-Wade. I remember that Marquette performance. I'm a big college basketball guy back in the day, and I clearly remember when he was
amazing,
dominant.
He was redshirted the one year, and then he came that was his second year there. He's incredible. And then the 2006 championship, being down, coming back to win, and he's the MVP with Shaq on the team and everybody else. It's amazing. He also is married to Gabrielle Union, so that's a boyhood crush for me.
Okay, just lots of great
Bad
things.
Boys 2. Yeah, Bring It On. Yeah, she's a crush. She's a big time crush. So he's just living my life, basically the one I wanted.
He's played in the NBA.
100%,
can
dude.
Dunk.
I love D-Wade, man. I love D-Wade.
So this is something you brought to my attention. Obviously, you're doing it right now with the jersey backwards, but I did not realize this is where. I hate to say it, bro, but that I felt kind of old, just being disconnected. From the culture, that people actually wear the jerseys backwards.
I don't know.
Is a thing. So I didn't know it was a thing. I want to know why it's a thing. I don't know if you know why it's a thing.
I don't know why it's a thing. We need to look it up after. We probably should have done some research before the pod, but I've been seeing it. I've been seeing it everywhere. We were at the Game 7 the other day, and we saw it in a restaurant.
I couldn't believe it, and then I did Google it, and it is a thing. People are doing it.
Totally.
Don't know why. I mean, I feel like the old boomer where it's you got to play for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back.
Oh my god!
But now you flip it around, this is the name on the front of the jersey, baby.
I feel like the old boomer. Yeah, Betty. I feel trends come and go, right? And then they come back around, and
they're probably this generation's so selfish now. They got to put their name on the front.
Really? Why you got to mess up a good thing?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I semi-fuck with it. I don't know if I'm fully there on it, but we'll rock it for the pod backwards. Really
committed.
Just shut out my boy.
You look good.
I love D-Wade, man, so I'll shut it out. So it's all good. All right. But on that note, what else am I shouting out today that's a little bit different?
I don't know. What? Oh, shout out the movement, bro.
Yeah.
That's a nice hat you got.
Thank you for giving it to me. I appreciate you. Yeah. But so today, the topic, and it's a little bit of a somber topic, but I want to still have fun with it. I want to learn.
I didn't know it was going to be somber, bro.
It's a tough one, right? Because as we're sitting here talking about an athlete, and as ex-athletes, it's this looming thing that we all really don't want to talk about or think about. And again, Game 7 was a good example of something that we never want to see. And I know when we were sitting there watching Game 7 and Tyrese Halliburton has that injury, we were both just sick for a while.
Yeah, it makes me sad, man.
But again, this hat represents your physio business and what you do for a living, which is help people through injuries, come back from injuries, perform, again. And I think you have a lot of insights that I learned that I'd not learned from other physios or other experiences that I'd had in that realm. So I think it's important that we have this conversation today. So I'm rocking your hat today instead of the True Potential hat, to give you a shout out. So why don't we get into it a little bit?
Okay.
I think a couple things I want to for sure cover, and for those of you that are interested, I think ACLs are a big one I want to cover.
Okay.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about prevention. Obviously, we can't fully prevent anything, but I want to talk about how does the average person or the athlete, particularly too, reduce the likelihood of injuries to the knee, ACL being a big one that happens all too often. Again, I know there's a disparity male-female as well too about how frequent this happens, so maybe we can dive into that because I know you know the research better than I do. And then we can touch on Achilles stuff if we want to. I think that's a really challenging one, and the NBA has been seeing a ton of it, and I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions, but I'd like your general opinion on just load to that area of the body and why we're maybe seeing more of these, and just some things for maybe the younger generation or people currently that are going into their later years, how they avoid something like that. Because I've heard, I play pickleball a lot. I've had a lot of people talk about how that happens in pickleball a ton. I've had
people tearing their Achilles.
Yeah, people tearing their Achilles in pickleball. Again, I think it's like a start-stop thing, but I've had, a client told me her husband tore it skiing. These are things that maybe happen. They're maybe unpreventable in that situation, but sometimes there's precursors to why these things happen. Sometimes there's this idea of I don't do anything and then I get off the couch and I go play a sport, and that's a big one. So let's really talk about that stuff. So why don't we start with, let's just start with ACLs. Let's just start with knees. That's everybody's favorite thing. My knees hurt, my knees are bad, etc. So you go ahead.
Where do you want me to take it with that?
I don't know. Why do everybody's knees hurt?
I don't think everybody's knees hurt, but this is an open-ended question that can go a lot of ways. And ACL injury is separate from the knees being hurt. I don't know what would be the most productive way to get these things across to people. If we want to talk about ACL injuries,
I got to define my questions better. This is good. Like you said, podcast end by 5. I got to be good by 5. We're still at number 3. Let me give you a more direct conversation.
That would help me because it's a pretty broad question.
I see a lot of clients and I see a lot of people tell me I have all these problems with my knee. So let's just go general population, right? I have no structural damage. I've been to the doctor. I've got MRIs, but I have pain. I have all these things. So talk to me a little bit about what pain is and why people have knee pain as a starting point.
Yeah. So I'll give you my general thought on this, and I think a majority of injuries that I see at the movement are based off of this kind of principle. So a lot of the injuries that come through the doors, and you're talking about these things with some of your younger athletes, is chronic related injuries that don't necessarily have acute damage. So what I mean by that is when you are playing basketball and you roll your ankle and you sprain your ankle, you are doing actual damage to the ligament.
Right.
Or the tissue.
Right, okay.
That is now damaged. So now there is actual damage there, which means that is probably something we want to respect. That pain is a response because there's damage to the tissue.
Got it.
Which in that case, you would want to make sure that we're offloading the tissue. We're giving it time to actually heal before we start to rush back into doing those things. So that is separate from a lot of these chronic overuse type injuries that we would see, which an example of this would be, maybe a basketball athlete comes to me because they have knee pain in the front of the knee that's developed over the course of the season, because they're overloading that tissue due to the amount of volume of work that they're doing throughout the season. In that case, the pain, the discomfort they're feeling might not necessarily be correlated to actual damage of that tissue. That tissue might just be sensitive or irritated and giving you a warning sign of hey, you're pushing my ability to take on load. So I'm giving you this sign to do something about it.
Okay. Before we continue, definition of load for people and then definition of volume.
So load I look at as anything that's placed onto the body. So when you're playing basketball, you running up and down the court would put load to your knee.
Right.
You lifting a a dumbbell and a squat would load your knee.
Okay.
You running 5K would load your knee.
Okay. Volume.
Volume would be like the amount of work that you're doing in a given day, week, month, year. So a high volume running week would be 100K because I ran 100K in a week, versus a low volume week would be I ran 2K.
Right. And so a lot of this, the problem is when those two things get heightened, like we raise those up too much, or over a consistent period of time, they're too elevated.
Yeah, so there's two ways that usually we'll see a lot of these injuries happen. Is like you either have an acute spike in load, or you have a chronic build in load over time. So like an acute spike in load would be you go from not playing basketball for 10 years to you decide you're going to join the Brody League and you play every day for the whole week.
Yeah.
That would be an acute spike in load. If you then had knee pain, there's a good reason why you probably had that knee pain. Is you went from 0 to 100 and you blew over the threshold of that tissue's tolerance to load, and you get a response.
So this is great because you're almost using my example as an example. It was my foot though, buddy. So I came back to basketball. My foot started killing me because I went back to it too quickly. And it wasn't 10 years, all right? But anyways, no, like this is key because people go, I'm just too old for this, as opposed to I didn't build back up to do this. And I haven't done this in a long time. Jumping around, cutting, right? Playing a full 40 minutes of basketball, playing defense and offense like when you join a league, right? And again, I was a perfect example. I came back to something and it was a lot more on the body than I realized. And at 33, I had to have some, honest conversations with myself. Like I can't just jump back into this or jump in and out, right? So I think this is a great thing that you raised. Like you can build back into things at different ages. It's not a negative thing.
Yeah, there's always an entry point, yeah.
Totally, entry point, which is great. Okay, let's go back to the knee thing, for example, with athletes, because I think this is a huge important thing. I'm seeing a lot of, guys and girls that I coach, and they have these little bands around their knees to fix pain. Why do they have those? Do they work? What are your thoughts?
I don't necessarily think they fix pain. They could probably help reduce discomfort. The idea with this is like a lot of the athletes that you work with have a chronic build and load that is resulting in these injuries. They're playing a lot in a week.
Yes.
They're doing a lot. So not only are they playing basketball, they're also doing track at school. They're also, doing other sports, and they're putting a lot of load on their body and their tissues as they're developing, and you're getting responses. So like the knee, the patellar tendon, jumper's knee, whatever you want to, call it, is in general, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time is the patellar tendon is irritated, overloaded, whatever. And so the idea of these bands is that you put it around your knee, it kind of offloads the load that would be placed on your tendon to help calm that tissue down. Okay. That's mainly the idea. It's temporary, and if you continue to blow through the load, that band or whatever is not going to do anything for you.
It doesn't fix the problem.
It's not going to fix the problem, and eventually it's just not even going to really do anything.
Right. So if you're at the end of your season and you're going into finals and you're having some pain, that's something that can help you.
And you're trying to make it through it, you could help reduce your symptoms by doing that.
But if you're not ever going to give yourself time off, right, to recover,
it's not going to get better.
No. And then there's another piece to this, which we'll get to in a second, but I don't know if you know this, but I had patellar tendonitis. That was the big thing, right? I don't know if you knew this. So I had this in grade 12, and essentially what happened to me was I went to a sports clinic and blah, 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 and they were starting to get me, there was no structural damage. I was just overuse injury, right? But it was absolutely painful and limiting for my athletic performance. And I was icing like crazy after. And essentially they just were here, add these braces, right? I had the patellar bands, right? And then I had a full knee brace, which was awful and it limited me even more, right? And again, I didn't get stronger. If anything, I was just worse at playing because it was so limiting as far as my range of motion. And I just felt, bulky and slow and everything else. Now, fast forward, and this is why I believe so much in strength training and building up your body. And again, I believe that you can accomplish so much more if you put the time into building up to these loads and volumes, right? And getting your body stronger so they can perform. I started strength training in between, university and high school, or high school and university. And all of a sudden, all my knee pain is gone. I've built up slowly my strength and then turned that into power output. And then again, raised my volume up. And now I'm dunking the basketball. Now I'm running and not having any pain. I'm cutting. I'm doing all of these things, right? And I show up to a training camp in university and I'm able to do so much more. Now, didn't work out for me. But mind you, if I had had that knowledge and that opportunity to kind of know how to balance recovery and training and know how to take an off season and get stronger, I would have been able to play better in those final 2 years. And, again, you can get scouted. I could have had a better performance in XYZ thing, right? There's so many options, but I was limited by an injury I knew nothing about, and I wasn't getting the proper guidance. So this stuff for me I feel really strongly about this because I've been through it. So for you right now, like listening to all this, like what's important for an athlete, let's say, high school range, like, can they strength train? Should they be working out? My opinion is yes, absolutely. Even maybe a little bit younger, your body is load, right? Like as you're explaining, so they can handle weights. That's a debunked thing where we can't, lift weights when we're young. We need to be working on movement patterns, proper movement patterns, et cetera. So is this something that can help these nagging ailments if they start doing this stuff?
Yeah, I think in that, like using the situation that you brought up, it's like, a very common thing is like, oh, there's pain, we're going to apply X modality to that and it's going to help improve your pain, therefore you're better, right? So like in your case, they're like, okay, here's some ice, here's some patellar tendon band, here's a brace, which is going to maybe help reduce symptoms because we're reducing the load that's being placed upon it, or it's calming things down. But then if you don't do anything to adapt the tendon or adapt the body, it's not going to improve. So just because pain is better does not mean the body's ready to take on the demands of the sport that you're doing. And so I think that's a common mistake we see in rehab in general, but oftentimes in sport, it's like, oh, I want to get this like fancy band, and I want to get this fancy modality, and I want to get this ice, and I want to look cool because that's what's cool. Like that's what recovery is, which that will help reduce your symptoms. That'll help calm set things down. But if we're not actually adapting the tissue to meet the demand of the sport, the second you go back to play the sport at that high level, you're going to re-flare it up, or worse, really do damage to yourself. In your case, what you did was, between high school and university, was one, you probably reduced the volume of basketball you were playing, which helped calm things down. But then you added load to the body. And I like to say, active problems require active solutions, and active solutions are loading the tissue. And yes, getting stronger in general is really important, but what we don't think about a lot is getting stronger through lifting weights also builds up the ability of your tendons, your ligaments, and your joints to take on load. And so in your case, you probably started lifting, you probably started adding muscle mass, but you also started loading your tendon more. And what tendons like is load. So as you're loading the tendon, it's adapting, it's getting more resilient, it's able to take on forces. Then you start implementing jumping related things, some plyometrics, whatever, because you want to be more powerful, which tendons really, really like that. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to take on forces, high velocity, reciprocal movements like jumping. So you're just building up the tissue's capacity to take on the load. So when you go back into playing basketball at university, your body is, your demand, your tolerance to load is here, and the demand being placed upon your body is lower than that tolerance, so you're not getting a response. And that's like the general idea of how I would look at this thing. So I even think for young athletes in general, and every person, understanding that concept can be game changing, because sure, if you do all this fancy modality stuff or recovery stuff, you get in the ice bath, all that stuff is great. But if you're not managing your load well, and you're not building your body's demand, or building your body up to take on the demand and the requirements of your sport, you're trying to transition back, you're going to have a hard time. You're probably going to get re-injured, or worse, you're going to put yourself at risk for something that could be an ACL tear, or could be an Achilles tear, or could be something that is way more drastic than just like your patellar tendon being irritated, or a tendinopathy, or whatever.
Totally. So essentially, like, if again we're pushing this volume too high, and the load we're putting on our body overall is just too great, this is where we again hit that first little piece of resistance, which is the pain, telling us and being a signal that we can't handle more, and then eventually that could lead to
your body's really smart. It's going to warn you, right? So like, let's just say your damage line is way up here. Your warning line is a little bit more below that. So when you meet that line, your body's starting to give you signs of like, hey, you're loading this tissue. That might show up as pain. That might show up as tightness. That might show up as tingling, numbness. Depends on what tissues are irritated. But your body's starting to let you know, right? Now, if you respect that, or you try to identify what's going on and work through that, then great. But if not, if you just keep doing your thing, which we've all done that before, you're putting yourself at higher risk for an actual damage occurring, where then now you can't do anything. You can't load the body.
And this is about like listening to your body, it sounds like, in a lot of ways, right? Listening to the signals of your body, not just pushing through them. Again, as athletes, we're kind of taught, like, the game's coming up, like Thursdays are games, so you better be ready. We got to push through, blah, blah, blah. But like, there's times to be smart. There's times to take opportunities to push through. Obviously, as an athlete, we know this, right? We're going to push through some stuff. But I think it's understanding what is that kind of area where you shouldn't push any further, or you really, because again, sometimes if people can't see the injury, know that it's an actual big injury, they'll tell you to push through, right? They don't know what you feel. So it's hard to teach that, I think, to young kids and not.
It's hard to teach that to anyone, and it's hard to know. And sometimes the only way you know and find out is by going through it, like having an actual injury. And then hopefully you get educated and guided by someone that can teach you these principles so that you can then apply it. Like, I look at injury and rehab as a skill, especially if you're an athlete. Even, for me, I wouldn't call myself an athlete anymore, but like, I'm pushing my body. Like, if you're pushing your body, like, learning these things and managing these things is a skill. So every time you go through something like this, you should be gaining the skills to then navigate it. So the younger we can teach people about this stuff, we're talking about athletes in this case, the better, because the better narrative and perspective they will have on injury when it does happen. Right. Or when things are showing up.
But this is the thing too. I think we have to make a note of, right? Like, you don't want to be scared of everything either, because our bodies are really capable. Like, they can handle a lot. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think we need to also have the other, side point where, it's not wrong to push or to, keep working out as you have pain signals and different things. And again, maybe you could shed some light on, again, let's go back to from athlete to general population. We're talking about knee pain there. I've learned a lot from you on, we're not going to just not do anything with our lower body if we're having some pain, right? So why is that? How do we create adaptation when we're still experiencing pain? Let's look at the knee and kind of
so like
dissect that.
To your point, it's like, I always tell this to my clients, like, the last thing I will ever do is take something away from you that you're doing unless we absolutely have to. Which the normal narrative is you go to physio and they're going to tell you not to do something. So I'm not going to go to physio because I want to keep playing, which respect. But that's not how I operate, because I don't think that's necessarily true. Now, if you show up and I assess you and we identify that if you continue to play, you're putting yourself at a very high risk to really do some damage here, I'm going to tell you that.
Totally.
But in most cases, that's not what you have to do. And what I always look at is, from an assessment standpoint, is like, we have to rule out, is there any true damage? Is there an ACL tear in your knee or not? Okay, there's not. Cool. Now let's look at
and there's methods to do that.
Right. That's like what we're trained to do.
That's the part where you come in with the expertise.
And then once we're identifying that that's not the case, it's like, okay, well, what I'm looking at is like, where is your threshold to load at?
Right.
And that's based on assessment, which then we will be able to identify, okay, if we do this is too much load because this is really painful. But if we do this is okay, you're tolerating this is where your threshold is at, and that becomes the entry point. So now we start loading the tissue from that entry point to then adapt that tissue so that it goes up. And there's a lot to how you would do that.
Totally. So like, this is super important, because when I came to your physio clinic, right, when you actually, treated me, we were friends before that, but like, I had a hyperextension of my knee, or that's what I would decide it would be, right? Like, I would, label it as that. And again, I walk into this place and you do some assessments on the knee structurally, and then we go onto the floor and we're doing, we jumped that day. Like, we were doing load bearing exercises. You're putting me in different positions to see what was, creating maybe that, signal that we didn't want, or what was too much.
Yeah, where was that tissue's tolerance to load at, right? And this is why it's important to understand, have a physio that understands what the demand of your sport is, or can like extrapolate it. Because if you come into the physio clinic and you're playing basketball, and we do an assessment where you never leave the room and you never get off the bed, how are we going to know what your tissue's ability is to take anything? Right. So like, we have to challenge tissue to get an idea of like where it's at. Now, like, me going into that assessment, I have an understanding of like where your tissue tolerance line is probably at, just from working with a lot of people. But then we go and test that out to see where it's at. And then we identified, okay, well, when we do this and this is putting you over that threshold. Okay, we got to work within that. And that's kind of like how I would approach.
But I think that's huge, man, because like, I can remember, again, when I had all my knee stuff, I went to multiple places, right? And it was like, I'm getting acupuncture, I'm getting, ultrasound on my knee, I'm getting all these things. Like, my first, assessment was X amount of money, and we didn't really do much. And I continuously had these points. And then, it was a personal trainer and some time off that kind of helped me get my movement patterns better, get much stronger. And then, that translated into success after all this other stuff that, seems like a waste of time. And again, I'm not criticizing anybody here. I'm just kind of giving my experience. And I think this is where, when I talk to clients, I just tell them, like, if you go to a physio clinic, just look around and make sure that there's some strength training equipment there. And there's a floor area where you're going to actually like get to use your body and see how it moves and what it can handle, because that is got to be a part of this, in my opinion, especially based on working with you. So I think that's super important. I think we're giving a lot of like good insight here. But again, let's go back to general population. Let's go a little bit like away from the athlete standpoint. Like, I have a lot of people that come to me, and I've actually worked with a client recently, 2 clients, and you've given me some exercises that have really helped, like the Spanish squat and some other ones, where I have these people that have this like tendinopathy or tendinitis.
Tendinopathy.
Tendinopathy.
Just a general term. We don't really use tendinitis.
Right, or moviegoer syndrome, which you...
Moviegoer syndrome, yeah.
Yeah, so
like,
we had a good laugh about that one. But like, so essentially this person has irritation at their knee, not 90 degrees all the time. And so we've had to find different ways to strengthen the muscles around the knee, get them to have also better movement patterns. But something like a Spanish squat, where you put a band behind your legs and it kind of supports the knee, has helped a ton with like no pain. Now they're doing these things, and now we're slowly building up to being pain free. And that's a game changer for people. But again, it takes like leaning in, not leaning away. But yeah, I got more to say on this, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the general principles of how we operate at the movement and like how I operate on a daily basis, and I didn't invent this, so don't think I'm that smart, but we have 3 phases of rehab. We have the calm it down phase, we have the build it up phase, and we have the bridge the gap phase. And bridge the gap means bridging the gap between rehab and performance. And performance is relative to the individual. So performance for you is getting back to playing in the Brody League. Performance for...
Still waiting on that.
Performance for Betty is getting back to gardening, right?
Yes, Betty.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah, so totally.
Those are the 3 phases. And oftentimes... it depends on where you're at, but we have to calm things down, which means we're going to have to modify your movement patterns. We're going to have to take load, or we're going to have to reduce volume of some sort. So in your case, we might have to pull basketball back a little bit.
Yep.
We might have to modify how much jumping you're doing. And then we have to look at your strength program and be like, hey, these certain movements, we can't do these right now, because if we keep doing them, it's going to irritate your tendon.
Yep.
But we can do these, because that's going to load your tendon in a nice way, and it's going to load the muscles that you're looking to get a training effect with, which is going to help to start to adapt. Then we move into the build it up phase. Now, the build it up phase is where I find oftentimes people get a little bit frustrated or misguided with some other types of physiotherapy, because they don't actually start to build it up. This is where you stay on the band exercises, and you don't start moving into exercises that are going to actually challenge your tissue to adapt it so that it can meet the demand of your sport. You are someone who is going to be putting a lot of load through your knee. We cannot sit on the side of the bed and do a leg extension with the band forever.
No.
So in this phase, we're going to start to challenge your tissue more and more so that it adapts, so that we move that tolerance line up.
But again, you've described this to me. It's like hitting that tolerance line, right? Like, you're going to push against it. Some days we're going to find we pushed a little too far. It's not going to be a negative thing. It doesn't mean we have to go all the way backwards. But again, we have to challenge ourselves to kind of push that up and adapt, right? So play in that area. And that will take pushing through a little bit of
it takes
discomfort.
It takes learning about your body. So like
knowing where that is,
it's me and you working together on like, I think this is where you're at. We're going to go try these things.
Totally.
Okay, that was a little bit too much. We dial it back. We tweak it a little bit.
Right.
Okay, this is the sweet spot. We load there for a little bit. We adapt. We move to the next phase.
Right. But let's dial it back to go forward. So we talked about the knee. That's a really common one.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's continue, because like we pause it.
You want to keep going on some stuff?
We pause it in the build it up phase, which is like we were talking about adapting tissue, increasing tolerance to load.
Okay.
So this would be in your case, maybe, with your knee, it's like we're starting to reintroduce some normal squatting. We're starting to reintroduce some lunge patterns. We might even start actually reintroducing some more like plyometric landing type exercises, because it's important for you to be springy and load your tissues in basketball. So in this phase, we're starting to expose your body to some of the demands that you're going to see in your sport.
Pause for a second though. Let's like take a note here. So go through the phases again. The first one is
calm it down.
Calm it down. Build it up. Bridge the gap. Do most physios go to build it up and actually do that? Like, is that a thing all the time?
Yes. I don't want to like hop on here and just like shit on it, because like it's not that. But
that's not what I'm saying. But like
there is a knowledge gap, and this is why I'm so passionate about it, is because I think we can be better as a profession. We can help people more. We can guide people better by taking things a little bit further. So yes, physios can do this, but not every physio can. Just like not every basketball coach is going to be able to coach a kid at the level that, some coaches that can.
Totally, there's limits. And again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. As a personal trainer, I know where my limit is as far as giving people advice on some of this stuff.
Yes, but my gripe is that we could do better. Yes,
I think so too. And then again, as an athlete. Again, this is like, let's go to the mindset thing for a second. If I get told a narrative that is wrong, severely wrong, I have limiting beliefs for the rest of my life.
Yes.
My knees are bad, blah, 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 all this stuff.
That happens.
And that's scary for me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And it's part of what I joke, but it keeps me up at night because like I'm very passionate about that not being the case, because I think as humans, whether you're a high school athlete or you're 70 years old, you're fucking resilient as hell and you can do a lot. Totally. And you shouldn't be told that you can't do things based off of not evidence-based things. Like it's just popping off out of your like
just wrong.
Right. Wrong.
And again, you go to like
doctors. And it does impact people's lives. I see that. I've seen that every day where I have people tell me how they were told something when they were younger and they were still living with that belief and they're sitting in front of me still going through challenges that could have been avoided. Now, we've learned a lot over the last little while in injury and rehab. And like my thing is like, once we know better, we got to be better. And am I going to in 10 years probably have done some stuff right now that we would now know better and we grow? Yes, because that is what we're supposed to do. But that doesn't happen all the time.
This is a good preface. And this is a big thing. I think anytime you're trying to get, a service that's relative to your body, you should be looking at people and trying to make sure that they, one, have credibility, two, they constantly learn. Are they bringing you new things? Are they constantly having a new conversation about what is out there and how things are getting better and what they're going to try? Like, I think if you're looking at experts or people that are, building up to be experts, that's what you need. You can't be perfect. You're not going to know everything. Things are going to change. New research is going to come out. But if you're not even open-minded, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about generations where people close off, right? Experts are professionals. Again, doctors, sometimes they close off, they stay in their ways, and then they give the wrong advice that's no longer true, right? Or it was thought to be true at a time.
Yeah, and sometimes people just don't
care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like, I'm not, like, it is what it is. But that's not...
You care.
That's not how I operate, and that's why I get so passionate about this, because, like, yes, I think we could do a better job, because we can mislead a lot of people, and I think that does happen. And I think why we do what we do is because we believe as a physiotherapist that we have a lot to offer people and sit in a very, very unique position to help a lot of people, much more than a lot of other healthcare professionals, such as a doctor who doesn't have a lot of time with you. We spend an hour with each of our clients. An hour. In what world in healthcare do you get an hour with someone? Maybe your therapist, maybe.
Yeah.
But we do that because we believe that there's a lot of value that we can offer that isn't necessarily being offered at the level that it could be. And that's why we're fired up about it and do what we do. Which I think
you're giving people time.
Yeah. And I think the even more mismanaged point, and this is a good thing for athletes. I know we're kind of talking a lot about athletes. You work with a lot of athletes. This is for everyone, but the bridge the gap phase is a phase that I think that people get very much misled on, because at this point in the rehab process, your pain is probably no longer really a thing. It's very minimal. There's not a lot of discomfort, but you haven't been challenged to meet the demands of your sport. Like, you have, like, a lot of times this gets skipped. It's like, oh, your knee pain feels better, now I'm done. But we haven't actually looked at, okay, well, what does basketball have to do, or what does Betsy need to do to be able to get back to gardening? She needs to actually be able to freaking carry a water can that's 50 pounds. Well, have we challenged Betsy to do that yet? No, we need to bridge the gap. So we need to expose you to the demands of your sport or your activity, and you need to have that met in rehab before you go back to perform.
But this is, I'm going to take 2 seconds, because this is a bigger thing too. Like, and this is where people,
shout out Betsy though.
Yeah, I think it was Betty when you first started. I actually think you changed it midway, but you got a lot of B names in your clinic. No, but for real though, like, this is what people don't understand, right? So my weekend where I decide to roll a wheelbarrow around and, lay sod and do all these things, I'm picking up something that's heavy. So if you're not doing this throughout your week and your back hurts at the end of the weekend, that's not a surprise to me. And this is where, like, one, again, we don't have the movement patterns. We haven't been, training. We're not training for real life.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not the movement pattern.
Well, we're not training for real life.
Yeah. It's just you're just not adapted.
All of a sudden summer comes around, right? And it's like, I've been off for the whole winter doing nothing. And this is where, like, again, I don't want to get fired up too much. It's not against anyone. I care about people, and I'm tired of seeing them hurt. And then I'm also tired of them sitting in their own feelings about it, being angry, because they just get angry at themselves. When we could help, you could help yourself a lot by strength training, by, just getting active throughout the whole course of the year, putting your body into some of these somewhat discomfort, uncomfortable situations, to be comfortable doing everyday activities. I say this to clients all the time. Everything I lift in the gym is heavier than I ever have to lift outside of the gym. So I'd never feel any fear. You don't need me to help you move a couch? Great. You're going to grab the other side? Awesome. This is lighter than everything I pick up. That's my mentality, and that's how I think. So when my dad looks at my deadlift video and goes, why are you picking up 300 pounds? I go, because if you need me to do something, Jim, I'm coming over and I can do it. But literally, they don't exceed my limits, and I'm consistently growing. And it's when I grow, I feel confident. But people, again, if that narrative has got stuck with you from an injury, and I talk to people about this, and we've never had a solution, right? We never got to the bridge the gap phase, right? Or we didn't even build it up, maybe. Because again, you were saying things in the build it up stage that I've never done at a physio clinic. I'm not doing reverse lunges, and I'm not doing all this stuff, and I'm not holding load. I'm doing none of that. I've never done it. So and again, thinking back, no one was getting me to jump to test out how things were going, right?
Yeah, it's how do you even know?
Correct.
Yeah.
I just went back to it, and I hope that was okay.
Yeah.
So there's lots to cover here. I think another one, we don't need to get on this totally, but shoulders is another big one. We could get on joint by joint by joint, but again, I don't think
it's less about that. It's more about understanding the principles, because it's all applied to every joint.
That's what I was going to say.
Right. So
totally.
And I think I understand your frustration, and something that we really try to do is what we need to be better at is just educating the public and the consumer as to what injury is, how it's managed, what we do as a profession to help them. But also at the same time, we need to educate people on what strength training actually is and what you're getting from it. And unfortunately, most people look at it as strength training is this way to make you look jacked or, have you look good. That was a good flex there. Yeah, I had to do a little
nice
bit.
One.
But what it is it's preparing your body for life, like you're saying.
Yeah, dude.
And I think educating people on the fact that yeah, sure, you can get jacked, but you're just going to be healthy enough to help your kids move. You're going to be healthy enough to continue to walk and do things in your old age. And that's what strength training is. It's building up your body's ability to take on the demands of life or whatever you want to do. But it doesn't get presented that way. So I have a lot of empathy for people, because people get perpetuated a lot of really bad information, and they get misled and get put in a position that it sucks. So I think, whether you're a personal trainer, whether you're a physiotherapist, whether you're a strength coach, it's we need to do a much better job on educating people as to why you need to be deadlifting as a 55-year-old lady.
Yeah. But this is also why, and this is, again, where we need to take away athletes for a second, because I'm going to go backwards. We're talking about older people, right? I'm going to go to kids. And this is where in school systems, we need to be teaching. Once games start to evolve, it doesn't just need to be sports. We need to be learning how to move, right? Weightlifting could be easily a part, or just moving load could be easily a part of the curriculum, and teaching movement patterns and keeping it fun and game-like. Because kids that turn into adults need to be able to take care of themselves. It is the same as brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
It needs to be an expectation of ourselves, right?
Yep.
It's huge. It's super important. So, and again, the bonus is that you look good when you're healthy. That is the part that comes with it for the most part.
Yeah.
Right?
And it will if you lift weights long enough, bro.
Oh, 100%. How long have you been lifting weights for? I've been lifting 14, 15, 16 probably in there.
I started, my first time I ever worked out was with my boy Zach Lucier in his grandpa's basement on a universal machine.
Oh, damn.
We were 15.
Amazing. But again, everybody had I feel like everybody had I have a friend too, Mike North. We'll give him a shout out. I was lifting in his basement, right? And he called me the prodigy, and it was great. You remember those days? I'm lifting with an old, it's just, you had that person that was looking out for you, that tried to help build you up, right? And again, not everybody has that, or they don't frequent maybe in the athletic realm, but that's where, in my opinion, the school system should be encouraging that. I was thinking about this the other day. Legitimately, we should just have recess for the whole time, a whole period. Going into high school, should still have recess. I don't think that we should take that away.
Yeah.
We're just encouraging people not to move as much,
Yeah.
You have PE for grade 9 and then you don't have to take it again. Come on. Get out of here with that. Also, I'm going to petition for jobs and businesses, recess as well. Let's go recess at work. People would want to come into the office.
Just like a movement and strength standard. Like,
100%.
yo, if you're going to work here, you better be able to.
That's fun. Like, we don't even have to always do weights. We could do fun, different things. We could do Zumba. We could do like different things. Different days.
If you want to get hired at the movement, you have to bench 225.
At the movement,
you need to run a sub 25K, and you need to run.
Totally. At Sea Potential, there's going to be a lot of standards.
I'm just kidding, but go.
No, I had a buddy. He used to tell me. I think he worked at Staples, and he was like, "We'd play ball hockey at lunch," and I'm like, "Dude,
yeah,
those tournaments were probably wild." Like that was probably the best days. He's like, "I love that job." Like we all want to play, and we stop.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to play, but I want to talk about one thing. So we're talking about how we avoid injury, but what happens if I get injured? Like that calm it down phase is a lot bigger. Is that how that works? Or talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, like all the phases are going to like be dictated on what's actually happening. If you tear your Achilles, you got a long calm it down phase.
Yeah.
Because we can't do anything. You can't.
Right.
We can't defy physiology. That's the difference between like an acute injury, like Achilles tear, and a chronic tendinopathy of your Achilles.
Got it.
Two different things, right? Like Tyrese is not. You can't start building it up right now.
Yeah. Shout out to Tyrese, by the way.
Right? Like you can't.
I feel bad for that guy.
So,
and Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard. Sorry, I had to shut them out.
But those are different things, right?
Yeah, once it's torn, again, calf strain to tear, it's different.
But like you might have someone come in where it's not that irritated. There's some discomfort, and we might have to calm it down a little bit. It might even take as simple as 3 days.
Right.
Or it could take 2 weeks. I'm working with a client right now who has a nerve injury that's just been real annoying. It keeps flaring up. So it's like he's in the calm it down phase. We're working really hard to get through it, but like it's taking longer than we want, longer than I want it for him. It's longer than he wants, but like we can't do anything about that. We got to try to work together on how we can manage that. But like sometimes it takes longer. Like these phases are dependent upon the individual and how they're responding to the load and to what they're doing in their life.
And I think people have to, give you the benefit of that too. You're figuring out as well.
Of course we're figuring it out. Like,
but you're there for them when you do it.
Yeah, because rehab is uncertain and it's gray, and it's like you have to take principles and you have to apply things to the injury, and then you have to respond to how they respond. I don't go into it like I have an idea of how this should go based on like what we know about this injury, but like I might give you an exercise that's going to adapt your nerve, and then I might get Betty an exercise that's going to adapt her nerve, and two different outcomes are going to happen. And I have to respond as a clinician to Connor and to Betty, and what's Connor's demands and what's Betty's demands, and how do I tweak this for this. But what we try to do is operate off those principles, because most of the injuries that we see operate off the principle of like calm it down, build it up, bridge the gap. You can kind of fit those into that, and if you approach it that way, there's differences, like people are listening that have some knowledge in the space. It's like, yes, I'm going to treat a nerve different than I'm going to treat a tendon. We're not going to treat them the same. I'm going to treat them muscular. That's just like my knowledge of understanding injury. It's like, I'm not going to treat that the same. There's differences, right? But the principle of calm it down, I'm going to calm a tendon down, I'm going to calm a nerve down. There's just different things I'm going to consider when I'm doing those things, because they're different tissues. That's where the nuance of like me being a clinician who's educated on those things can help.
And getting experience with it, because again, you weren't just like jumped in and all of a sudden you knew exactly what to do every time. Right? You have to figure it out.
Didn't do great when I first started out.
And that's to be expected, right? But it's funny because James Clear had a post on Thursday in his newsletter, and it was like, don't get caught up in your methods. Focus more on the principles.
Yeah.
Right? The method doesn't need to be the same, right? I hurt my knee. I need to figure out what's going on. Or I hurt my back. I need to figure out what's going on. But, I'm going to apply the same principle, calm it down. But then the method I use might change and alter, and you have to be open to that. Again, we can't be closed-minded. I can't be closed-minded to an exercise I particularly like if it's one not working for a client, right? I've seen like a lot of clients tell that to me, right? Like, I can't do a squat. Okay. We need to do that pattern at some point. We need to figure out methods that we can, do to do that. What is the issue? How do we, maybe avoid it right now, build up the muscles, right? So their load is better. Their ability to take on load is better. So the pain doesn't happen right away, right? How do we increase range of motion? How do we do all these things? And then eventually we're going back to it. And it's that creating that trust with your client that you hear them, right? I understand where you're at. I understand that you're having pain, but we need to understand that like we have to get you back to certain things, and this is the pathway, and this is kind of where we're going to go, and it might change, and all these things. So again, you're saying this beautifully, but I think it's super important.
Yeah, and I really like, we talk about having active rehab And like active rehab, of course, means like you're going to move, you're going to work. Like my favorite thing, like I had this with my client yesterday. She came in and we worked hard, bro. Like we worked hard.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm sweating more right now than I sweat in the gym. I'm like, hell yeah, you are. But that's not the only active component of rehab. Active means you are actively involved in decision making. You're actively involved in understanding. You're actively involved in learning, because you need to be learning and you need to be with me, because that the best outcomes I get with my clients is when we are working as a team, because they're trying to understand what's happening. They're trying to learn the principles that I'm teaching them. They're giving me feedback based on what they're understanding about their injury and how it's responding, so that I can work with them. That is the best outcomes I get. And those ones are often the messiest ones, because I'm sitting down with like my client. I'm like, yo, honestly, I have no idea why you flared up this way. We're going to figure this out like this, but like, this isn't not what we planned. And like, we're in this together. And I really try to make people feel that way, because I'm like, I know that this sucks, but like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the best when people are open to that. And I think if we can have people shift their mindset around how they approach rehab, versus like it not being, I'm coming to see Dalton so he can use this modality to fix my knee. I'm coming to Dalton so that I can understand more about my body. I can understand how to take care of this, and then how I can reduce the risk of this happening again by being actively involved in the process. That's my goal. Like if I could get to the point where every single person comes into rehab with that approach, and like we as a profession can portray that to the public, I will rest easy, bro.
Preach to me. I love when you preach to me.
I will rest easy.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm moving the microphone. Dude, that when you go on these tangents and just like, that is a beautiful thing what you're saying, right? I'm going to be there for you, with you through this. You're going to understand what I'm trying to do and why, so you can get smarter. It's autonomy. I had this conversation with a client the other day. She was a new client. We're on the phone together. And I said, the long-term goal here is that you don't need me anymore. I want you to understand how to take care of yourself. I'm teaching you to do that. And it's an investment in yourself that way. If I'm doing a good job, you're going to be smarter, like more confident, right? And just better as a human being because of this, right? So I think we're cut from the same cloth in that regard, and I think that's just like how we have to take an approach to this profession. So that's why we get along.
Yeah, I mean, the mission at the movement is to empower people to take control of their health.
Totally, dude.
And that like always has been, always will be. And I think empowerment is a term that gets thrown around a lot in the healthcare space. Oh, we help empower people, but it's like, what does that really mean, and how are you actually doing it? Empowerment to me is when a client comes in and they're like, yo, I actually decided that I was feeling so good that I went to the gym and I picked up the bar off the ground that I was afraid to do for the last 3 months, because I felt like I was capable. Yeah. Like that's empowerment. Or I decided that I'm going to go in hike with my daughter because I felt good enough to go do that, and I'm going to make that choice. Like that's empowering people, right? It's not like, oh, my back is sore, I'm going to come and see you so that you can help reduce the pain.
Yeah, so you can fix it. No, I have some methods that I like, I have some principles, right? And some methods that I understand that might help this. Okay, these things aren't working, I'm going to try this. I know what my limits are.
And people can do that. Like people learn that and apply that. I told you about this story the other day. I had a client come up to me in the grocery store. I hadn't seen her in like 4 years. Yeah. She was in a rough spot, dude. Rough spot. And we went through the process, and she was telling me how like she still implements all the things that we talked about. She said she had a flare up in her knee like a little while ago, but she was able to manage it on her own by like doing this different stuff. And like, she was like, she could barely bend her knee when I first saw her. And she's in the grocery store, bro. She's like, look, she's like bending her knee. Like,
I love it.
And it's like that kind of stuff where, that to me is like the game changing thing. Like that to me is like how you actually genuinely help people. Yeah. Like if that person would have came in, I would have helped them with their pain a little bit, and they would have felt better, and they left, they felt a little bit better. It's like, great, they feel better, but like what is that doing for their life? Like that's the goal.
This is my thing, and I want to say one more thing, because I have this conversation with people a fair amount, because I'm not a physiotherapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lot of these things, but I will always meet people where they're at. I will hear about what their injury is, or their aches, pains, how long they've had them, and I'll always tell them, I might not be able to fix this because that's not always my goal, but I'm going to try to make it better. We're going to find ways that maybe we can improve your lifestyle, or some of these things that are happening, like some of these, aches, pains that you're feeling, right? I think a lot of times, certain professionals sometimes tell people, well, just stop. You can't do this anymore. Like none of this is, this isn't possible for you. And they give them no avenue to make it better. And again, I think that's because they think, yeah, that person will never be 100%. But what if they could be 80? What if they could be 85? And right now they're at 30 and they're in pain and they're going through all this stuff and their range of motion's terrible. Like she's showing you her knee and it's like way better. It might not even be back to 100. It just feels so much better. She got to the max it could be, or just a great place. And now her life has changed because of that. Like we're gonna go through life and things are gonna happen and we're not gonna come out whole. But like, again, we can build ourselves back up, or again, plan ahead and build ourselves to be better, to take on these things that happen. But man, wouldn't 80% feel good if you're at 40%? And again, changing the outcome, right? I don't tell people I can fix them ever. I don't say that necessarily. We're going to make you better. We're going to start to break through some of these beliefs you have, because I'm going to show you. And once you show them and they feel it and they do it, they're like, I can do this stuff again, right? Like we're so comparative. Like it has to be perfection right away, right? Like this magic pill is going to fix the problem. Yeah, the road back is different,
it's
right?
It's just easy.
It is easy.
If that was the case, it's just not the case.
And again, I always say this to people: people never can believe what they haven't seen. If they've never seen it in themselves in the mirror, or seen themselves do it, they as a child you believe everything. Your dreams are like huge. Yeah. And as we get older, we pull back. We get told we can't. We get caught into what we are, and it's like we stop dreaming. And if you just start dreaming a little bit about what you could potentially be, again, the true potential of yourself. That is something that's not unlocked yet. So you have no idea what it is. You just are going to start working towards it and hope and look and believe that like it's going to be something fantastic. So again, when I come off an injury or something bad does happen, don't listen to people telling you what it's going to be. You don't know, right? Yeah. You don't know. Yeah. Right? Whether you're going to be back to 100% or whether you're going to be 80 or whether like it's going to look all different ways.
Yo, you want to get back? Do you want to run?
Then let's fucking do it. Then let's figure out how to do it. In a way, and running might look different, but it's gonna still be something that you can do. Yeah. I just don't let people put you in a box. Don't put yourself in a box. Right? Yeah. Break the fucking box. I hate that shit.
Yeah, and unfortunately that happens a lot. And like that's like why I think exercise is such a great means to do that. It's like it's a great way to show people that they can do way more than they ever thought. And it could be as simple as like walking into the gym, looking at a barbell and being like, I would never be able to do that. People genuinely believe that. And then you get that person to lift that barbell off the ground. I know. Imagine what that does for their mind. It does everything, right?
It unlocks something in you.
And that's why it's important.
Totally. Yeah. Right? Like you've been posting videos of that gentleman that works with you that jumps on boxes still. Yeah, he's like, what, 70?
Yeah, dude.
80? What is he?
He's not that old, but he's like 67.
Oh, sorry, dude. He's 67, so he's close to 70. He's jumping onto a box.
Oh, dude, that guy's doing pull-ups.
I ask people sometimes, when's the last time you jumped? Yeah, right? Like, it just, again, Peter Attia says this thing. He's like, whatever you want to do at 80 or 70 or whatever, you need to be doing every week.
Yeah, just do it now.
No, but like, just keep doing it.
And don't stop.
What? Yeah. Kids are amazing. They run all the time and blah, blah, blah. They don't stop running. Yeah. You stopped running a long time ago, right? You stopped jumping a long time ago.
But I'm too old.
Yeah, no. Limiting beliefs that have been created by people before us. Like, again, my beliefs are what, if I'm putting all of my effort into something and I have the right habits, then I will decide what I can and can't do by listening to my body, like you're teaching people.
I will say, and like, I don't know how long we want to go for, but I will say this, like, I'm a very optimistic person. In a space that sometimes is not very optimistic. It's getting better, man. It's getting better. And I think these conversations and me being able to work with someone like you, who now you go out and you work, and I've been able to impart some of my thoughts on you. You've been able to impart some of your thoughts on me. Like that's how things change. And I see it in the people that come through our space. Now we're in a bit of a silo, the way that we market and speak to people, but like I see people coming in, they're looking for more. They know their body's capable of more. They don't want to stop. They know that if someone tells them that they can't run, that's BS. And I think that's the beautiful part about social media and platforms is like there's more access to information. Although there's more access to shit information, you can open your eyes to things that you never really saw. So it gives opportunities like you and I to put content out, to actually have people come across it, to be like, yo, I can actually do this. So there is a shift. There are people that are, so I try to be optimistic about it because I think like we'll get there. At least I have to believe that.
No, man, you've imparted some,
or else I don't know what I'll do.
You've imparted some huge knowledge on me. You've been a great influence. I try to be a good influence on other people. I think you just said it, optimism, taking the approach of positive belief, and again, not limiting yourself is the most important thing, right? I always tell people just keep looking for more solutions, because at the end of the day, failure is only when you stop, right? Should we stop there? That was nice, eh? Did I plan that?
We did. That was like...
Shit.
I was trying to think of a D Wade moment, but I had nothing.
A D Wade moment?
Like like ending a game or something, you know, like...
Who's LeBron and who's Dwayne Wade in this relationship? Oh, tough question, eh? I'm a sidekick, bro. I'm a hype man.
So like, I'm normally not a LeBron, bro. Like,
have you seen yourself recently? Shit.
Yeah, like normally I am a D Wade, bro. Like that is normally how I am.
Nah,
I'm not a LeBron, dude. I'm not. Don't put me on that level.
I'm D Wade, baby. Robin here, before your Batman, buddy. Anyways, dude, always a pleasure. Number 3 in the books.
Dude, you're gonna make it to 5.
Dude, trifecta. 3-peat in the books. You finally got your third ring.
Feels good, bro.
I bet. Later, dude.
Peace.
What? You can't. You didn't know how to handle that?